Most of you, I think, I have met generally over the handful of years that I've been at Aryaka, but if I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, my name is Holly Bryant. I am the strategic sales director that covers a good chunk of the Central Territory, including Kentucky and then also Missouri, where you guys have some primary locations at as part of my territory for Aryaka. Alongside me, I have Joshua Randall, who is the solution architect that supports my region as well. And we have Matt Fredrickson, who's kind of a subject matter expert on the solution architect team that covers a lot of the security product sets. And then we have Julia North, who is also joining us from marketing. So without further ado, I'll kind of kick in. I'll warn you, I have some corporate provided slides, but kind of based on the agenda that was kind of requested. I've also kind of created my own, so they're not the prettiest slides, but hopefully they'll be kept simple and easy to remember is kind of the goal here. So kind of Aryaka at a glance. Again, most of you are probably very familiar with us, but for those of you who are not, we have been kind of in the industry, if you will, since 2009. We actually got our start back in the day as a WAN optimization as a service was kind of the original use case that then kind of grew into kind of SD-WAN and now kind of a SASE offering, if you will. But we've got over 500 customers. Their locations are based in over 100 plus countries. We are global in nature. In terms of what product sets we offer, generally speaking, they're kind of categorized under the SD-WAN and then also, security or, with combination kind of being the unified SASE, if you will there. And then we're about 120 million in annual revenue. And as we kind of say at the bottom, very highly rated by our customers. I've been in the telecom industry, since the late 2000s, if you will. Worked for several carriers along the way, and I will say, compared to a lot of the other carriers that I work for, like our support team is very high touch, very responsive. For those of you who can recall those times you get those phone calls in the middle of the night when a circuit's down, that just doesn't happen with us. And it's very nice to know that our customers are handled well. I have to escalate things very rarely. So I think that speaks well in terms of you all trying to support your customers with a good, solid solution. So what products and services do we sell? Kind of at a basis, as I mentioned, we are primarily kind of SD-WAN, and I kind of flag that with the asterisks because essentially that's kind of the minimum product that you have to buy from us, either that or our remote user connectivity. And then you can kind of layer on other services on top. So in addition to SD-WAN, we also can offer, next generation firewall or secure web gateway. We package this up as kind of our Aryaka unified SASE product offering. We do have the ability to work with Palo Alto. We've got the ability to virtualize Palo Alto on our appliance. And in some cases, depending on what type of physical appliances they have, we do have the expertise to manage some of those with our support team as well. So we'll usually ask a few questions, kind of go the next layer there to understand if they have Palo Alto, to what level can we manage those. But so beyond, one of the things I think you'll need to kind of take away about Aryaka is our solution is very flexible. So you can either utilize our security offering or, again, kind of we've got the Palo Alto optionality there as well. SASE is kind of one of those big buzzwords you hear very frequently. That's even kind of the title of today's training here. That stands for Secure Access Service Edge, or quite simply kind of SD-WAN plus security. So we do kind of fall under that category. I already kind of mentioned the remote user connectivity. And again, that's kind of a minimum requirement, either that or SD-WAN in order to purchase the rest of our product set. We do have security for remote users as well. And we're seeing this become more and more of a frequent ask from our prospects. I'll kind of jump around here, but that could kind of be inclusive of kind of a Universal ZTNA types of offering as well. That's kind of the secure network, if you will, for our remote users. But in addition to those services, we do offer the ability to purchase internet connections from us. We call it last mile services or circuits. If you have customers or prospects that already have circuits in place, they've got contracts on them, but they're looking for a carrier who can kind of manage it in addition to their SD-WAN and security offerings, that's something we can absolutely help with as well. We have a lot of use cases where customers may want dual internet connectivity at the locations. They may have one circuit's still under contract, they want to go ahead and buy a circuit through us as like a secondary connection, we'll also manage that first connection just to kind of make that user or customer experience the same. In the event that a circuit goes down, whether they bought it or we bought it, they can contact Aryaka to kind of escalate things and to get things moving. And we'll obviously be monitoring and handling things for them as well. We do also offer connections into infrastructure as a service. So AWS, Azure, express routes, direct connects. We can kind of add that into kind of their SD-WAN or SASE solution. We are offered kind of as a co-managed or managed solution primarily. We are bringing out more and more kind of self-service aspects to our solution to try to break into, some of the other types of partners out there. I still see a very high, pretty much complete take rate of using kind of our managed or co-managed solutions, if you will. And for us, there's not a real price difference there, so you might as well, make use of it as an extension of your team. So kind of moving on there. One of the areas that kind of differentiates Aryaka from this very busy spectrum of providers, if you will, is that we've got a global backbone solution that's kind of paired into our technology. Essentially, these are physical points of presence that are spread across the globe, where we've got our hardware kind of racked and stacked in these co-locations with multiple connections between them to have a very high resilient network. It is layer 2 between these POPs. So what that offers us in comparison to some of the other carriers that also have global backbones is the ability to kind of route and control our network a little bit stronger, kind of make it more static. Josh Randall, I don't know if you want to add anything more to here. If you want to come off you.
I mean, not specifically, right? Because I don't want to necessarily inundate the audience with, overly technical jargon. But I think if anything, the key takeaway here is, as Holly mentioned, right, this is physical infrastructure. And the reason why that's important is that it gives us a lot more flexibility in terms of, um, how we can provide connectivity to customers into various cloud environments. So we're not running virtual instances in someone else's cloud, right? That means that, we could bring in, private circuits. We can do, IPsec tunnels over internet, that kind of stuff, right? So we're not locked in. It's a lot more flexible. And it means that, essentially what it boils down to is a better experience for our customers.
Thanks for that, Josh. And one thing I'll add here is I believe a little bit later in the presentation, I'll kind of get into, what are good fits for Aryaka. We still get a ton of requests around customers who have locations in mainland China and having difficulty routing traffic there. So that's definitely one of the things to kind of point out. I have a prospect that I'm working with now that started disconnecting their MPLS circuits in China, and obviously internet trying to go through the Great Firewall is really struggling. So that is absolutely a use case that we commonly solve for. And a lot of it comes down to having that physical POP structure within mainland China, where you're utilizing internet as kind of the medium to get to those POPs, and then your layer 2 kind of going out of there. So just want to kind of point that out before we move on to the next slide here. So one of the things that we commonly get asked is, "Oh, whose appliance do you work with?" Well, actually, it's our own device. We call it Aryaka Network Access Point, or ANAP for short. Josh, do you want to kind of add anything here?
Um, I think the only thing that's important to keep in mind is that while we do have different models, as you can see on the right, from the customer's perspective, we're providing, essentially networking as a service. So they don't really need to worry about the size of the box. Based on how much bandwidth a customer needs, we'll allocate the appropriate bandwidth and then include the requisite device. So each device essentially can do everything that you see on the left. It's just a matter of what circuit size, how much horsepower they need. So it should never be a matter of, oh, what license do I need for this, or do I need a license for such and such feature? The answer is no. You subscribe to a site, you get the necessary device to support, basically small, medium, large, extra large, based on how much bandwidth you need.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, we have done a ton of work over the last year to really simplify kind of our offering. If you've quoted us in the past, there's been, the appliance size, how much subscription over the backbone, and kind of all these different elements. We've really kind of taken an approach to really simplify our packaging, if you will, to where we basically have three tiers. First being kind of the general SD-WAN, and again, that would include an Aryaka network access point. And then based on the size of that appliance, we would include so much subscription. And obviously that includes, WAN optimization and several other features that are included in our SD-WAN licensing. The middle tier, I would probably say, is our most frequently quoted. That is basically everything in the SD-WAN tier plus the some of these security features. So we call it Unified SASE as a service. That includes our next generation firewall product offering or secure web gateway, IPS and anti-malware. And then if you have customers that are looking for more advanced security, we've got an advanced security package, which again includes everything from SD-WAN and the Unified SASE, but we add in kind of CASB, and then DLP will be kind of included in that package as well. And then we do have several kind of add-ons around like AI and some neat things going on there. And any type of installation services, there's smart hands and some other things available at extra cost. So Matt or Josh, anything else you want to kind of add here?
No, I mean nothing for me. I mean like I said, or rather, as Holly was saying, we've done a lot to sort of simplify the service offering. I'm sure if you guys have done business with it in the past, it was, oh, you need a certain site, certain amount of bandwidth, and all this kind of stuff. Now it's very simple, right? You pick the sort of slice that you need depending on what services you're looking for, and then small, medium, large, extra large. So it makes things a whole lot more simple.
Absolutely. All right. And one thing I did kind of highlight, as we have your time, is there is a lot of development kind of in our portal. This little screenshot kind of showcases a little bit of that and some of the changes. Again, there's a lot kind of information that our customers will have access to, whether they have us manage the entire thing or they want to have more of a co-managed or self-managed type experience. They'll still have access to a ton of information on our MyAraka portal. One of the things that I think is great about our company is that we do have a lot of customer advisory boards and things. So we get a lot of suggestions from our actual customers, and then we're able to pass it on to our own engineering team, and they can implement those things and features and reporting functionality and things kind of in our portal, kind of based on that customer feedback. So it's kind of one of the unique and neat things I think about Aryaka. Matt, I'll kind of turn it over to you. You want to kind of highlight a little bit of the Unified SASE Service 2.0?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what Holly's laid out of everything that we do from the SD-WAN to security and all those as a combination really highlights our emphasis as Aryaka on focusing on the customer's network and making sure that both the users and the non-human users, the new bots, the agentic AI and everything else, that the network is ready for that for a performance perspective. So that as we look at how they onboard, whether they're a hybrid work environment, whether they're using agentic AI or anything else. And then the portal that Holly just hinted at that we keep expanding, Aryaka is very ready for any AI application or to address any AI threat or anything else within there. We're not going to beat our drum and say we are the AI company. What we are going to say is we are the network that can enable and allow high performance or protection of any AI adoption that any organization has out there, including things like next generation data loss prevention that isn't just the traditional pattern based. Now that we've got new non human users trying to be productive, if they're a sanctioned user, that we're allowing and giving the same protections as a human user, but now we're also preventing and we're protecting for companies that may not even be aware of the AI usage that's going on in place. So I just want to set us apart as a partner to any customer's growth into their AI strategy, or to help them even use their network to identify the pieces that they already have in place so that they can build out and enhance that strategy for their success. So that's really what our SASE 2.0 is built around is the human utilization and the non-human all in one so that we can take very high levels of comfort that their objectives will be met and do it in a secure way.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, top industries, verticals, ICP. I thought it'd be quick and easy, just kind of call out what's a good fit and then also what is not a good fit for an Aryaka solution. So great fits tend to be in the manufacturing space. A lot of those customers are generally kind of spread out global for distribution. Most of them have locations within mainland China, which again, I mentioned earlier is kind of a big use case that we see. We also see a lot of business services. So like financial, engineering, type firms. Generally they're heavy data users. CAD files, things like that are also very good use cases for us where we're able to make those applications perform well over a very broad, spread out network. Good fit for us also would be if your prospects or customers are global, although we can do regional and US based as well. So don't kind of knock us out in those types of scenarios. And I'll get to one of the not good fit kind of along those lines here in just a moment. But top use cases, I've already kind of talked about, China-based locations. We still have customers that are coming to us who are migrating away from MPLS. If you've got any customers seeking a SASE offering, that's definitely something good to kind of bring us in. If they're looking to migrate away from maybe their SD-WAN that they deployed, maybe in their first run around, but they got more feature and functionality that they are looking for that they're not achieving right now. Security migration projects, application performance issues is a big trigger for customers that we see. And then often we still see a lot of companies who are just kind of tired of dealing with the telcos, where they're looking to get away from a Lumen or CenturyLink type solution. Verizon is still a pretty common carrier that we take things away from, but I would also mention and call out also Masergy. Years ago when I first started at Aryaka, I would say that was prior to Comcast buying Masergy. They were probably one of our top competitors. They were priced similar to us in terms of being a little bit of a premium in the market, but they had a very strong white glove service, great support. Comcast bought that, and we've heard nothing but complaints, especially in the last year or two. I think since those changes have really taken place and a lot of the former Masergy employees are no longer there. So we also hear a lot about Palo Alto. If you're familiar with them, a lot of times they're kind of on the pricey side of things, definitely premium. We do have a great security and SASE offering that would compete well with them. So again, if you've got customers who are Palo shop now, looking to kind of, cut some areas for cost, that's generally a use case that we can definitely help with. We also see a lot of clients who come to us who are looking for flexibility in their SASE journey. So maybe they're not ready to switch security vendors right now, but they want to go ahead and kind of plan for that in the next, 1 to 5 years to roll out. And they're looking for a carrier who can be flexible with them along that journey. We can do a great job of meeting them wherever they're at to satisfy their needs today and help them kind of plan for a SASE architecture in the future. So what are not a good fit for us? I still would classify us not a great fit for the very high bandwidth users. So if you've got customers that are like 10 gig connections, 100 gig connections, like just very intense data users, our appliances have some limitations on the throughput there. So we may not be the greatest fit in that scenario. We are also not a great fit in the kind of FedRAMP government agency type solutions. And then I would also include kind of hyper regional, such as like school districts or, sometimes these very regional banks, unless they are looking kind of more for that managed solution, including security kind of stuff. So generally where you're going to bring the most benefit to your customers is when their locations are kind of spread out and we can kind of interact with our backbone to help control that traffic. So I know we're kind of running short on time, but I'll do a quick recent win that I had. This was an account that I sold here recently, and they are a semiconductor company kind of based actually out in California is where they're headquartered, global in terms of their locations. They are over 30 locations globally, with a chunk of them being in China. I think they have over 20 locations within China itself because of acquisitions and things like that. But they had MPLS is kind of what they were migrating away from, and their leader informed us that they they are saving about 40% by kind of moving to a dual internet connectivity SD-WAN solution with Aryaka over what they were paying prior to MPLS. But they really kind of put us through the ringer in terms of proof of concepts. They actually did 2 pretty extensive proof of concepts. And as I mentioned earlier, our support is really second to none, and we performed really well in the proof of concepts there. And they were able to kind of get a taste of what that support would look like going forward. The recommendations would be kind of, from them, if you will, to other, prospective customers would be kind of running, full POC across all the locations, test your critical applications. We often will tell our prospects to kind of give us the worst sites, worst performing, applications, and let us kind of show you really where a lot of our value is in there. So that's kind of a recent win. In terms of the portal, like how to contact us, how to register things, you all will have access to a partner portal. Julia, I don't know if you want to cover these slides in a minute, or if you want me just to quickly go over them.
No, I'm happy to just say a minute or two. And for some reason, I don't know why my video is not working today, but we encourage you that if you don't have access to the partner portal, that you definitely get it. If you've been in the partner portal before, you'll see that we have all new branding, the goal, and actually we've redesigned it to make it easier to find exactly what you need. So key things that I would say to focus on real quick is deal registration. That's probably the most important thing. And the great thing is that we also have the ability for, once you've submitted a deal reg, you can see, the status of it. Please note that for new logo deals that close, we have like up to a 2 times MRR spiff. So we definitely encourage you to get those in when you have a good opportunity. And then also, this is great. Here's the spiff. So if you guys get these slides, you'll be able to see that. You can find that information. You can find marketing information in the portal. And then the one other key thing that I want to call out, and if you go back one slide, is our new Aryaka Certified Partner Training. If you need a refresher, this is a great training. But if you're willing to invest 90 minutes over, and you can take it at your own pace, it's only 7 modules, it's super quick, super brief, but this really will give you that messaging that you need to help identify an opportunity, but also help the customer see how we can solve their problem together. So I encourage you to do that, and that you can find in the portal as well under the training and certification tab. Thank you, Holly.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julia. And that pretty well kind of concludes, our presentation, if you want to open it up for questions.
Who is your main competition, and what is the most common reason that you win business, and what is the most common reason that you lose against a competitor?
Ooh, I would say kind of our most like for like competitor would be Cato. Most commonly, they're just being transparent. They're brought into the same opportunities that we are in. I think a lot of because the partner will obviously kind of narrow down based on needs. A handful of people to bring in. We win against them a lot of times in the China use case scenario. Actually, the opportunity that I just won that I kind of highlighted there, it was kind of a bake-off type POC against Cato, and our network actually performed better for them in terms of the different applications that they pushed through, and a lot of that kind of comes down to the backbone, in my opinion. I don't know if Josh would feel differently, but because they are kind of more of a layer 3 backbone, and that's good enough for a lot of scenarios. But when you have that critical traffic coming out of China, it doesn't tend to perform as well as kind of our backbone, kind of being layer 2 and a little bit more controlled, not reliant on other carrier, if you will, to route that traffic. The other ones I kind of mentioned earlier, we compete against a lot of the telcos. And where I think we win against those is kind of having that all-in-one Aryaka, first party solution versus a telco is going to be, they probably provide some of your internet connections, but they're going to have to off-net some others. They're leaning on Fortinet for firewall. They're leaning on Velo for SD-WAN. And it kind of just becomes this hodgepodge of, a multi-vendor solution, although you only get one bill. And so I think that you typically introduce a lot of problematic resolution to issues versus everything kind of being more first party with us. Yes, we do kind of rely on obviously resell internet connectivity, but our appliance and portal will give you great visibility to how those circuits are performing. Everything else is kind of first party with us. So if there's an issue with SD-WAN routing, you're speaking to engineers that create those programs and are able to resolve that very quickly.